Hi there. Before we get into today's interview, I want to talk real quickly to Christian business owners, decision makers, and church leaders. You know, Salem Media is known throughout the United States for its Christian teaching and conservative talk radio stations. Well, what many people do not know is that we are a full digital marketing company. We help both companies and ministries in the online space. We connect companies through digital marketing with new potential clients and customers. And we also connect churches with those people in their communities that should be in their pew on Sunday morning. So why not partner with a company that shares both your Christian beliefs and your conservative values? Why spend your marketing dollars with companies that do not share your values or many times are in opposition to them? So we want to help you with your goals. So reach me today. You can email me at patrickhoban@salemtc.com, or you can call me directly at 651-289-4412. We don't come in just as salespeople. We come in as consultants. We want to hear what you desire, what your objectives are, and then we strategize with a whole team of people to come up with a plan to help you achieve those goals. And if you're a church leader, we come up with a plan to help you connect with those people that God has ordained to be part of your church community. So reach me today, call me, email me. I would be happy to schedule a time that is convenient for you to see what we can do to help you with your marketing goals. Now, on to today's interview. God bless. Are you searching for a church to call home or a ministry to get involved with? Welcome to Ministry Connections. I'm Evangelist Patrick Hoban, your host and the local ministry director here at AM 980 The Mission. Each week we introduce you to a local church or ministry that is making an impact here in the Twin Cities. Now you can also listen to past programs on our YouTube and Facebook social pages. Just look for AM 980 The Mission. Now today we have somebody in our studio. His name is Darby Voeks of Crosstown Young Life. My goodness, I'm stumbling over my words today. Welcome to the program, Darby.
Thanks for having me. It's a privilege. It's such a cool thing you guys do.
Yes, indeed. We enjoy it very much because we get to have this sound to tell everybody what good things are happening in the Twin Cities rather than all the bad news. But we like to know where you're from, your background. Where did you grow up? Tell us a little bit about your life, Darby.
Yeah, I grew up in the metro, so I grew up in South Minneapolis. Grew up with a single mom, which is definitely a part of my story that has led me to be in ministry today. My dad was in jail for most of my adolescence. Parents had a pretty messy divorce, and father was not a part of my life. And that wound kind of shaped a lot of the hurt that I was going through as a teenager. I have found this to be so true, that the most important thing in someone's life is who was there for them when they were younger. And the most damaging thing is who wasn't. I think if we all think about our own lives, we know that the most impactful person in our life is who was there for us when we were younger, and the most damaging is who wasn't, who was supposed to be there that wasn't. So I felt that, and I had a mentor step into my life, and through all the craziness of high school, class clown, class president, but also first one in high school to get the fake ID. I mean, I was that guy. I knew who God was, but I also knew who God wasn't, and I was really interested in both. I was really
interesting. So what age were you when you started having this kind of encounter with God, or this mentor came into your life?
Yeah, I knew all my life I had been raised by an incredible mom. But a mentor came into my life actually after I got an underage drinking ticket in high school. And he pulled me aside and was just really honest with me. And he said, Darbs, you will either be the biggest drug dealer in the Twin Cities, or you can be a CEO, but you're going to have to choose. And I had never had someone really believe in me so directly. I think a lot of people would beat around the bush. But he just called it like it is. And he said, you're going to have to choose. And that has really shaped now my lens that I view leadership through is you hold a crown over kids' heads. He said, you can either be a drug dealer or a CEO.
Mm-hmm.
You hold a crown over people's heads and you wait for them to grow into it.
Very good.
That's how we handle it.
What a great analogy. Now, was it at that time you had a deeper relationship with Jesus, or tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, at that point I was like, well, I certainly don't want to be the biggest drug dealer in the Twin Cities. And this leader, he pulled me aside, and he was part of a village of people that were always pointing me back to the way Jesus created me to live, and actually having that be shaped through a relationship with Jesus. So my big moment was many small moments throughout my journey. I was passing up on a major that I was planning on. I went to the University of Wisconsin after I graduated from school here. And I was all set on going into the business school. I had scholarships that I was excited about that was all business related. And then the guy that I was named after, who was a ministry mogul in the Twin Cities and in the Midwest, his name is Phil McDonald.
Mm-hmm.
He went by Darby. So I was named after him. I was by his bed when he was passing away down in Apple Valley at his townhouse. And my mom asked if I wanted a minute alone with him. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, this guy started Young Life, which we'll talk about. It's one of the largest youth outreach ministry organizations, certainly in the world, but definitely the metro as well. We're in 110 countries. I'm in charge of the one here in the South Metro. But Darby had brought Young Life to the Midwest. And he pulled me aside in this conversation. And my mom's like, do you want some alone time with him? And I said, sure. So I just asked him, Darby, what do you know now that you wish you knew when you were 19? And he looked at me and he was so cool. You know, this guy was like, he was on his deathbed and he was dressed in Ralph Lauren, long slicked back white hair, you know, just a silver fox. And he looks at me and he says, Darb, you can say yes to yourself and you'll have a good life. And I had always heard if you say yes to yourself, you know, you're going to hell, life's doomed. But he was like, you're smart enough. You'll have a pretty good life here on earth. You'll be okay. Say yes to yourself. You have a good life. Or you can say yes to Jesus, and it will be the ride of a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing has been more true. And I just said I wanted that. So I went back to school, and I changed my major. I went on Young Life staff that spring. And
what year was this, Darby?
That was 2014.
2014.
Yeah. So I've been on staff now for just over 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that was basically when he spoke that into your life, and we were just talking last week with Dr. Mark Henry about the importance of mentors in the life of young men and even older men.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that when that one word can change somebody's life, and that's why I'm very careful around my own children.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I went through a divorce, so I wasn't around my children as much as I wanted to. But when they're in my life, we don't speak anything bad. We try to speak everything good because those one words can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
So you went into Young Life. Now tell us a little bit more about Young Life. What is it about?
Yes, totally. Young Life is faith-based youth mentoring. We believe in loving every kid everywhere for eternity. We know that there's a lot of youth programs for kids to get involved with, and then there's a lot of churches for kids to get involved with, but very rarely is there a program that can do both, that can have the impact of a YMCA or a Boys and Girls Club, but with the spiritual substance of a vibrant, thriving church. We really try to do both. We're a parachurch organization. We're a nonprofit, and we believe in introducing kids to Jesus and helping them become who God created them to be and helping them grow in their faith.
Now, that man that spoke into your life was responsible about bringing Young Life here to the Midwest. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, man, it would have been in the, late 1900s, the 1900s, we can say that now. He brought it here. He was friends with the founder. Young Life started in 1941 in Texas. There was a pastor that that hired a youth pastor, and the youth pastor said, well, where's my office? And he said, well, go look over there. That's your office. And he pointed across the street to the public high school. And he said, that's where you should be, not in here. And I think so often we hear Jesus's command of go be fishers of men, and we change it to being keepers of an aquarium, and we just take care of our flock. And that's important work. The aquarium needs to be taken care of, but also there's people that need to be fished for, and there's people that are not coming into our churches and into our programs because no one has ever gone to them. Every single kid has a million adults saying, come to this thing, sign up for this team, Go to this tutoring program, apply for this, work here, show up to class, show up to this program. Very rarely do they have adults show up for them and flip the script and say, I'm going to show up for you. And regardless of what you feel about God, I'm going to love you, regardless of your response.
And so that's the mission of Young Life then, is to go out to where the kids are and become mentors and interact with them. And
faith-based youth mentoring.
Faith-based youth mentoring. So how many youth do you have then, say, in the Twin Cities area?
Good question. Twin Cities area, we have about 9,000. I personally am the director of Crosstown Young Life. So we have a series of ministries that meet around the Twin Cities that meet on different nights of the week. That's why we're called Crosstown. We're really heavily anchored in the South Metro, Richfield, South Minneapolis area, but we have kids that come from Bloomington, Northeast Minneapolis, all that. And we have about 1,500 kids and about 70 to 100 mentors, and we're always looking for more.
Always looking for more. You work then closely with churches in the area.
Totally.
So how does that work?
Yeah, we know that there is a gap right now between kids and the church. And we want to be that bridge. So we know that as a bridge, sometimes you're going to have to get walked on. If you really want to be a bridge, expect to get walked on. And that's okay. Our personal mission statement is serving tirelessly to show kids how much they matter and how fully they're loved by Jesus. So that's our goal. And if we're going to serve tirelessly, sometimes it's going to be tiring.
Yes.
And so we seek to bridge that gap. So we build relationships with students through a thing we call contact work. It's going to where kids are, and then we invite them to our programs. A number of our programs are actually housed at churches for kids who would never step foot inside a church, and also for kids who would. And for kids who don't want to step foot inside a church, we do more than just our large group nights. We have caring mentors building relationships with students, tutoring, helping make sure they have Christmas presents and winter clothes and boots, and a caring adult that they know is there for them.
So you know what amazes me, Darby, is that, the Twin Cities is seen by many as a wasteland. Mm-hmm. But there are so many great things happening, like organizations like yourselves at Young Life. Can you tell us a sample story of some young man or woman that came to Young Life and their life was transformed?
Yeah, absolutely. We were outside one of the high schools that we serve at, and a fight broke out. It was after a basketball game. And there was a fight that happened, and thankfully we have a great relationship with some of the administration there, and they looked at us and just were kind of like, hey, can you step in? So one of our mentors steps in, and I take one of the students home, and he takes the other. And we're driving them home, and we're processing what just happened. Why were they fighting? What's been the beef that led to this? And at almost the same time, but in different cars, one of them cried to his mentor saying, I need your help, Trey. Trey was his mentor. I need your help. I want to be a good man. I just don't know how. His father wasn't in his life, and he was desperate for that good example. Another one who was in my car, we're having a great conversation. I was asking him about home life, and then all of a sudden he starts screaming, and he hits the headrest behind me driving. And thankfully, we were right in front of his house. If we were on the freeway, I don't know if I'd be here. But he hits the headrest. I thought he was angry at me, but he was angry at the world. And he just screamed, I don't have anyone. I don't have anyone who cares. And I had just been asking him about who he lived and who he stayed with. And he was heartbroken that he just didn't feel like there was anyone there for him. And what a gift it is to have him get out of the car and say, Jamarion, take my phone number. Now you do. Now you have someone. You have someone. And that's what we seek to do, is show up in those kids' lives. Now, we've seen kids that were the furthest out. I mean, we're talking about the biggest drug dealers in the city go on to get baptized and become mentors for other students in 4 years. I mean, we hear about these transformations for 40-year-old adults, but these are high schoolers that were on one track towards nowhere, and they made a change. Jesus made a change in their heart, and their lives were never the same.
It reminds me of my youth.
Yeah, you and me both, I'm sure.
And how God snatches you out of that fire. Yeah. For people that think that the youth is a lost cause, you and I both know that that's not true.
Yeah.
Tell everybody how they could get involved in Young Life if they were thinking about doing something like that.
Well, first, I would tell you why. Based on a survey done right after the pandemic, 43% of teenagers feel persistently sad or hopeless. During the pandemic, 9.1. This stat, the first time I heard it, I got chills. 9.1% of teenagers reported attempting or actually committed suicide. Not just having the thoughts. 9.1. That's almost 1 in 10. And so we look at our world, we look at our news headlines, and I don't know about you, Patrick, but when I look at the news, I don't always walk away feeling the most hopeful.
That's right.
Like you said about how people view the Twin Cities. We don't always feel the most hopeful when we look at the news. Well, that hope for tomorrow is going to be shaped by the lives of the young people of today. The hope for tomorrow will be shaped by the young people of today. So if you want to see politicians and senators and teachers and ethical businessmen and good car mechanics and tradesmen and educators in our communities, we have to invest in young people now. Fatherhood is at an all-time low. Antidepressants and suicidal thoughts are at an all-time high. And are we just going to look at it and say, that's okay with me? I hope not. So I would encourage anyone who wants to get involved to seek to do so. They can do so by reaching out to us at crosstownyounglife.org. That's crosstownyounglife.org. Or they can email crosstownyounglife@gmail.com.
Wow, powerful, Darby. Thank you for coming on today, sharing
having me.
Those parts that are so interesting. You know, if you know some young people out there today that need mentorship, please pass this video along, this piece, because you never know, you might be able to help somebody that really is looking for somebody to guide them in this life. Anyway, you've been listening to Ministry Connections here with Patrick Hoban and my friend Darby from Young Life. Until next time, God bless you.